Good morning and welcome back to Mobility Matters. I'm your host, Javier Betancourt, Executive Director of the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, or CITT. We're the agency of Miami-Dade County charged with overseeing your half-penny sales tax for transportation. If you're interested in learning more about us, please visit our website, miamidade.gov/CITT. But we're not here to talk about me or the CITT. We're here to talk to the publisher of Miami's community newspapers, I should say co-publisher, along with his brother, Michael Miller. Michael, welcome to your own studios.
Thank you for inviting me. My pleasure to be here.
So this is great. We've been kind of working on this podcast now for almost 2 years. And number one, I want to thank you for the opportunity.
Our pleasure.
I think it's been a great program for us and a platform for many guests to talk about transportation and mobility. Kind of a hot topic in Miami-Dade County. Would you agree?
Yeah. So it's an interesting thing when you talk about mobility. I think that's sort of changed, and I've started incorporating that in my conversations with people. I say you can talk about transportation, you can talk about traffic, but it's really how we're going to move around with what we have and what we're going to have.
And it's the one thing everyone's an expert on, right? Not everyone's an expert on affordable housing or climate change, but everyone has an opinion on transportation and mobility because we're all using the system. We're all frustrated sitting in traffic, right? I mean, I would imagine you have personal and even professional experiences with the system.
So one of the things I do, I live out west, and so when I leave, whatever time it is, that's my phone time.
Yeah.
And so I just say, okay, this is how long it's going to take me to get where I want. These are the people that I'm going to call, so I don't waste that. And I think that that's an effective way to deal with the frustrations that we feel. And so some people, and including on our staff, we tell a lot of people that live south, come in at 10 o'clock. Don't worry. You don't have to be here at 9 o'clock and deal with the traffic. So when they come in, they feel really good.
Unless you're producing our show at 9 a.m., in which case we want you here on time.
Alex is here bright and early.
Thank you, Alex. He's never been late.
So a couple things, and it may be in your bailiwick, but let's talk about the busway.
Yeah.
All right. It was about $300 million to get it going, 100 from the state, county, and then from the feds.
Right.
What's going to happen with that, and when will it start, and what effect is it going to have on mobility?
Already starting with the hard questions.
I know.
He's so used to being the host that we're kind of co-hosting today.
Yes.
So what you're talking about is the South Corridor leg of the SMART Plan. So let me start there. The SMART Plan is the Strategic Miami Area Rapid Transit Plan, which is the county's plan to extend rapid transit to all corners of the county. It was one of the original promises of the People's Transportation Plan 20 years ago when we adopted the half-penny sales tax for transportation. And it's finally underway. It's under construction. And as you said, it's been a partnership. A third came from the half-penny that leveraged a third in state grants and the remaining third from the federal government. So it's been a great partnership. The good news, as I said, under construction. The bad news is it's a little delayed, right? And so between one thing and another, some supply chain issues, various challenges that have come up. I know that it was scheduled to open, I think, earlier this year. Now it is at best, I think, late this year. And even the grand opening isn't going to be, 100% final. It's going to almost be an incremental opening with different components of the system opening over time. But again, we're really excited for this to become an option for all those residents and commuters and workers in South Dade that sit in traffic, sit in US 1 or the Turnpike for hours on end. They will now have rapid transit connecting them to the Metro Rail system at Dadeland South. And from there, they'll be able to get to jobs in downtown or the health district or wherever they're going. And the project is really interesting. We know that the community had hoped for Metro Rail. The reality is, between one thing and another, Metro Rail simply wasn't feasible.
And that's because?
Cost too much, was going to take too long to implement. And if we had spent all of our funds on that, we would not be able to complete the rest of the SMART Plan. But the analysis that was conducted, and there are studies that take a lot of money and a lot of time associated with each one of these corridors, it concluded that bus rapid transit was actually the preferred technology in that area. Bus rapid transit, in many ways, is similar to a train. It's in a dedicated lane, so it's not in mixed traffic. There are wonderful stations where you can prepay and board level to the bus, just like you would a train. Actually, the stations being built for the South Corridor are even better than Metro Rail stations because they're air conditioned. Metro Rail stations aren't air conditioned.
That's true.
These will be. They will also have 24/7 security. So, in many ways, it operates like a train. It just happens to be on rubber tires. And then one component that's really exciting, and this really helps to take it to what they call gold standard BRT, is the buses also won't have to stop at intersections during the peak hour. So they're literally crossing gates that will come down just like it would for a train and allow those buses to zip on through without even having to wait at an intersection. So, the time savings are going to be real. I don't know them off the top of my head, but it's going to be a great service.
And for instance, there's a station, I believe, at 104th Street.
Yeah.
Where do people park if they want to get on that? Or can they there? Or are they dropped off?
So there are several of the stations are going to have parking garages or parking lots. I didn't come prepared to talk about where exactly they are, but you'll be able to park there just like you would at most Metro Rail stations or many parking rides. So you'll also be able to get there, by the way, via supporting bus routes and even municipal routes. So the municipalities that run along that corridor, Homestead, Florida City, Cutler Bay, Palmetto Bay, and Pinecrest, all run their own municipal transit systems, paid for with their share of the half-penny sales tax. And I'm fairly certain that all of them will connect their residents to each of those stations. And then if you live in unincorporated, I'm sure there is a county bus that will take you there. So you could arrive by car, you could arrive by bus, and I'm also hopeful that people will arrive by foot and by bike.
Well, we know the county's making some arrangements for nearby properties to have less parking requirements.
Right.
So that would say if you move here, you have less cars, and you need to take some other method that could include that rail. Let's talk about the Cutler Ridge Mall. It's no longer called that, but it's under construction. It's going to be $1.5 billion in today's dollars. It's going to be a city. It's going to be gigantic. It's down there. They're breaking ground right now, and they're going to employ a lot of people.
Right.
Is there going to be a walkover? Do you know?
I don't know, but if it's close enough, I imagine there would be. That would be the smart thing to do. And I know that the town management there, shout out to Ralph Casals at Cutler Bay, think along those lines. For a long time, they've been using our funds in addition to providing transit, to creating what we call complete streets. So Old Cutler Road, for instance, and then it changes names as it goes into Cutler Bay. Went from just being a typical street to one that incorporated also bike lanes and really great sidewalks for walking.
And the CIT, what role did the CITT have in those type of things that you just explained?
Honestly, we help them pay for it. That's really it, right? So we provide the funds that they use for those types of projects and those transit services. Now, to ensure that the cities and the county utilize those funds appropriately, we do audit them on the back end to ensure that it was used for a legitimate and eligible transportation purpose.
And how would somebody that lives in Miami-Dade County look at some street and say the CITT was involved in that? What's the clue, the signal, or is there?
So if you haven't seen it by now, you haven't been looking, there's this ID, you might call it a logo, that's literally a half penny. So we got Abe Lincoln from here up. And it says your half penny at work. So the easiest way to tell that we paid for something is you'll see that sticker on that bus, or if they're building a roadway, a project, you'll see it typically on a sign. And then you could always visit our website. We have an exhaustive list of all the things that our funds have been used for. Again, that's miamidade.gov/CITT.
We know in our office here in South Miami, the alley, which was in terrible shape for many, many years. I want to thank the CITT for putting that in. It really changed what we do in this neighborhood. Yeah. And then also 62nd Avenue was done.
And I should say credit to the city of South Miami. They did the project using our funds, their share of our funds.
And behind Big Cheese off of 67th Avenue, 81st Street, a couple of years ago, that alleyway got redone. Within a year, 10 townhouses went up next to it.
Yeah.
$800,000 to $1 million. And then right on the other side, a beautiful warehouse was put up because people were looking at the area to say, people care. Mm-hmm. It's not deserted anymore. So there is a vast improvement in the way that we look at things when we look, and there's maybe a roundabout. Is that what they're called now?
Roundabout, traffic circle, depends on how you look at it. Yeah. And that's the great thing about transportation investment. It truly is probably the single best investment that you can make using public dollars because of the return on that investment. There's this really close link between transportation and land use and economic development. And for every penny, or half penny in our case, that you invest in a transportation infrastructure project or a transportation service like transit, you get many times that back in terms of redevelopment of properties, in terms of businesses coming to that area, because now workers and shoppers have easy access to those property or easier. And so, money attracts money. So that investment attracts additional investment, and it spurs, the rebirth and revitalization of communities. It's been proven. Don't ask me for the specific numbers, but there's no better investment you can make to improve, enhance communities or attract business than transportation and mobility.
So when the new mall gets built on 212th Street, people will be able to get to that work, whether they have to cross there from both areas. And that, by virtue of that, they're going to be able to be a very large employer.
Right.
That'll keep those people from driving from south to north, where more of the jobs are.
That's exactly it. And a lot of people ask frequently, why should I invest my tax dollars in transit when I don't use it and I have no intention of using it? Well, because other people will use it, and then you're going to have less traffic to contend with, right? So there's this greater good effect. And the nice thing about attracting development also along the corridors is that there's a taxing district called the TID. I think it's the Transportation Improvement District. So as the property values within a half mile of that corridor increase, that increased taxable value goes back into paying for the corridor. So it's a win-win situation. You're encouraging development. That development is going to add riders to the system, but it's also going to add funding back into the system that helps to pay for its construction and its ongoing operations and maintenance.
So let's talk about a project that goes on in the city. You also fund those, all right?
Yeah.
And is there a certain percentage of that you pay and the city pays the rest, or do you pay for that whole project?
What I found is typically they are discrete projects. The county kind of pursues its own projects and the cities pursue theirs. There are opportunities and instances where they've collaborated. That street I told you about, the complete street in Cutler Bay, I believe was a collaboration where the county put in some funds and the city put in some funds. And then increasingly with these larger projects, toss in some federal and state funds as well. So to the extent possible, we encourage that. We want our funds to be leveraged to attract other funds so that they go further. So there are instances where the county and the municipalities work together.
And what's the annual budget of CITT?
So depends on which budget you're referring to. Our annual revenues from that half penny is about $400 million. I would say we've collected over $4 billion since this started 20 years ago. Now, our office, and so we provide oversight over the funds. Our office has a policy that we want to stay under 1% of those revenues. So currently, our office budget is about $4 million. So we use those funds largely for salary, for people to keep an eye on the use of funds and to make sure that the promises that were made to the people are kept.
And that $4 billion has been spent on roads here in Miami-Dade County.
Roads, et cetera, right? So, yes. So the original promise, and people may not remember this, did include roadways. There were over 40 projects, 40 roadway projects that were promised as part of the PTP. Now, the focus has been on transit, and that continues to be our focus today. But it did include roadways. It also included fare-free transit for seniors, regardless of income. It included fare-free transit on Metromover. It included, and then it also included the 20% that goes to the cities, which they then use for transportation. So, it was a much more complex program than people realize. Now, the reality is, looking back at those 20 years, 2/3 of the funds have been used for transit. Less than 10% has gone to the County Public Works Department for roadway projects. So I think people have this misconception that the funds have been used for roadways. Well, they have, but it's been a very small percentage.
So let's talk about the Freebie. That's one of the vendors for CITT?
Not for us directly, but largely for the municipalities, yes.
And so when people see the Freebie, that's actually their half-cent sales tax at work.
And it's got a little logo on it, too. It's a little smaller than the one on the buses.
And as rideshare has gotten more popular, the freebie stuff is now like it's normalized.
Yeah,
It'd
absolutely.
be like, okay, so instead of calling Uber or driving, you would call this other method.
Yeah.
And they seem to be, people have adapted to it very, very well.
Oh, it's great. So the great thing about freebie on-demand service, as we call it generally, is that it's super convenient, right? Through your app, just like you would with Uber, it picks you up exactly where you are, and it takes you exactly where you want to go, which is more convenient than having to walk to a bus stop or a trolley stop, which then only takes you to a certain spot, and then you have to walk again from there. Now, the advantage of that is capacity. You can move a lot of people very efficiently with a bus or a trolley. The reality is, on-demand service is more expensive, but it's more convenient, right? And the way I see it is it all works as one system. If I don't want to have a second car in my family and I want to save that money and, be responsible to the environment, we could scale back to a one-car family. I can use the car when I can. Other times I may walk to, the local bus route to get me to the nearest metro rail station. I can bike to the metro rail station, but I also have the choice of an on-demand service. What I want is for the people to have options.
And I think that's important. So you have a bag full of things, a toolbox, if you will. Yeah. Mr. Homeowner, here are 10 things you can do.
Yeah.
You can take the metro rail. You can do freebie. What are some of the other methods of transportation?
Well, I'm a big proponent of bike ped.
Okay.
So prior to the pandemic, I actually biked to work, 10 miles in each direction, and it was fantastic. I mean, I lost 30 pounds doing that. I've gained 40 since I stopped. But I think that is an area actually where we have to do more as a county. We do have some trails underway, the Underline,
Yep.
Ludlam Trail, and those are great. But what we really need is a comprehensive, interconnected network of protected bike lanes. And I say bike lanes, but it's also micromobility. It's scooters, it's e-bikes, it's pathways for people to walk.
25 years ago, if anybody walked underneath the metro rail, you would think they were crazy to do that. That was like a no man's land.
They probably were.
Right? It was a no man's land.
Sure.
And now, downtown area, and you have, what is it called? The
Brickleback Yard in downtown?
Yeah,
That's the component of the Underline.
Yes,
yeah.
on the under. All of a sudden, it's this magic.
Yeah.
So part of the question is, who's out looking 20 years in the future, all right, about things that can happen here? And we see what's going to happen with the 67th Avenue trails over there. We see what's happening with the Underline. But what are some of the things that, looking forward, that are maybe on the table for discussion?
So the primary function for looking forward that far into the future belongs to the Transportation Planning Organization, the TPO. And I've had the executive director, Eileen Bouclé, here in the past. She's fantastic. And the organization's job is really to do that. Look out 20, 30, 40 years and start planning for that future. But other agencies do the same. Maybe not as far out, but the Department of Transportation and Public Works also has a 5-year plan. We have a 5-year plan. GMX now has a 5-year plan. So all the transportation agencies are looking to that future, but I would say it starts with the TPO because it's really their primary charge. And then the rest of us kind of are part of that process of thinking about the future, thinking about the challenges and opportunities, and starting to work towards them.
So we know that public transportation is so needed because when we look down south, all the homes that are going up there, that's because there's a need for that.
Yeah.
People wouldn't be building if there wasn't. And we see out in West Kendall, my friends that live in West Kendall, they've been complaining for years. And frequently they say, I wish we could have whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
But it costs a lot of money.
Sure.
And the studies have been done over and over and over. I think that for the most part, if people want to feel normalized, just don't let it drive you crazy. Figure out some other way to deal with that. So again, so we know when our people leave here in the afternoon, they know this is what's ahead of you in the next hour. Just figure out what to do. Out what to do with that.
And I like the point you made earlier. We didn't really touch on it more, but technology has really changed, I think, the experience for people. So, even if they're sitting in traffic for a long time, they can multitask, and many of them do. I think it's interesting. There's this phenomenon now. Prior to the smartphones, people used to rush those yellow lights and even, the first few seconds of a red light to get through. Now I find them, the second that turns yellow, they stop because they want a couple minutes on their phone. And it makes for a less stressful drive. Now, there are problems that come along with people using their phones while they're driving, of course.
Well, there's no question about that. When we looked at EVs, and I'm thinking, why am I going to go sit someplace for 10 to 20 minutes? Well, I know what I would do.
Yeah.
The same thing I would do sitting at that light. So it's really changed our mindset, and surely people are not in the same kind of rush. The frustration levels are going down.
And those phones, by the way, also have these wonderful apps, right, which actually help you manage the traffic situation. So Google Maps and Waze, so, they help you kind of avoid maybe the worst of traffic and find creative ways of getting home. So that's been a huge game changer as well.
So CIT frequently looks for, I think the word is ambassadors.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Oh my God. So we launched a program last year called the CITT Ambassadors. So what we wanted is to have eyes and ears on the system, right? We're supposed to be a watchdog over our funds, but also in how those funds are being invested and making sure that the investments that have been made are being well maintained. So we thought the best way to do that is to use the people writing the system, right? Your everyday writers. And how do you incentivize them to be our eyes and ears and let us know what's happening? Well, that's where this program comes in. So if you are a regular rider of the transit system, the county bus, Metro Rail, Metro Mover, or even a city trolley, you apply to become an ambassador. Chances are we'll approve you. There aren't a lot of criteria. And then you are added to this app managed by a company called Velocia that we partnered with. And they will send you a survey every day. So as you're sitting there on the bus route or when you first get into work, you complete the survey, kind of detailing your experience that day. Was the bus on time? Was the driver, polite or rude? Was it clean? So you fill out all this information, and then you get points through the app for filling that survey. And then you could exchange those points for rewards, mobility rewards specifically, a free transit pass, a free Uber ride, a free scooter share ride. So that's the incentive for people to participate. And then we also give points when they push out messages. So if we post or the Department of Transportation posts something about the system or about a project, and we want that information to be disseminated to the public, the ambassadors will also get points for reposting that, friending it, whatever the case may be.
What a great way for people to get involved.
Yeah.
And especially if somebody's like hypercritical, what a good opportunity for them to look.
That's absolutely
and say,
it.
And I assume that CIT and the other company, they put it together and say, here's what's going on, with those things.
That's it. We then send that information to the relevant agency. Right now, it's typically the Department of Transportation and Public Works, but if it's a survey about a municipal ride, we'll send it to the city, and then that department or that city then has information that they could use to address problems before it becomes an even bigger problem.
And CIT occasionally has positions available on its volunteer board.
Yes,
which is called
the Transportation Trust. So
okay.
I'm technically not the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust. I am staff support to them.
Okay.
The CITT is really a 15-member board of volunteers, 13 of them appointed by each county commissioner, one appointed by the county mayor, and one appointed by the League of Cities. They meet once a month. We just met last night to take requests for the use of our funds and provide advice to the county commission on that. And they serve, many other functions as well. So if you're interested, we currently have 3 vacancies in districts 9, 10, and 11. Don't quote me on that. But we're constantly looking for applications because members come and go. So if you're interested in serving in that capacity and being a part of the solution and not just complaining about the problem, we encourage you to apply. You just have to be a resident of the district of the commissioner who appoints you and not have any conflicts of interest with the county. So that information is available on our website, miamidade.gov/CITT. The same website also has information on that CITT Ambassador Program and how you can apply for that.
So several ways that people can be involved and volunteer and feel that they're making a difference because they are.
They are, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mike, tell us more about you and your experience. So you've been in this building for how long?
Well, let me put it this: when I was in high school, I used to come up with my fake selective service card, right? Like I was in the Army, and I would buy beer when I was 17.
Wow.
Yes.
So wow. It's been here a while. So it's been a family business, right?
It is.
Started by your father.
Yeah. So my father was in radio and TV and newspapers. And not too long ago, somebody sent us a clip that they got from the Wolfson archives of when he was covering Hurricane Donna I remember it, right? And they send the clip, and there he is. And I remember it specifically, and we found some other clips, that work that he's done. And we understood from back then that people wanted local, local, local.
Right.
And over the years, we've been supportive of the local community councils. We were tickled to death that we were able to help bring the concept of new cities to Miami-Dade County. We were part of a very big team that brought forth the good things, not the bad things, the good things, and then the voters move forward on most of the cities.
Right.
So we understand they're local. Our concept is to provide local news, local content, and one of the great things that we are doing is we do a meet and greet here at our office once a month. We bring different people. We do some events at Katsukuba. We've done 6 in the last 6 weeks. We're doing an event at Cutler Bay City Hall.
Great.
In a week or so, and being able to bring local folks as speakers so that citizens can meet them. But we understand that sometimes it will be their only time for us,
Right.
to do that. So we're really thrilled.
You're really great at that, at convening the community.
Yes.
I think we had joked around a little while ago that you really become the town square for Miami, where
We ordered
ideas
that
and discussions.
sign. It's going to be inside.
Yeah. And I have to credit Ernie Thomas with that one.
Right. So anyway, we're thrilled, and we're glad to be a part of a CITT and being able to watch this.
Yeah. And so not everyone necessarily knows what Miami's community newspapers are, but chances are they do know your products.
Yes.
So because you have how many
We have
local
15
newspapers?
paper in Aventura, Sunny Isles, Doral, South Miami, Coral Gables.
Right.
People can find us all over the web at communitynewspapers.com and blah, blah, blah. It's really a thrill. Grant and I have been doing this. We've actually been working together for 42 years
Jeez.
here. And
still haven't strangled each other.
It's never been more fun than it is right now.
That's great.
Because you just get to this place to where we know that we can affect some changes by bringing people, and they can listen to. Recently we had the Major General who runs Southcom was our guest. We had the cancer specialist at Baptist. We brought in a big cardiac surgeon. We had Chris Christie as one of our speakers. We had Madeline Pumariega. There's some
The
of our
who's
speakers.
who of Miami. You've had him here.
And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important thing. And then, of course, we take the pictures and distribute them. And my brother, Grant Miller here, all right, has been phenomenal. He does about 10 outside commercials a week. We started doing some more green screen work, and so we're having a blast. And it's a pleasure.
Well,
working
thank you,
with
sir.
you.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
And I appreciate the opportunity to host this podcast in your studios. You have a wonderful production team. We want to give them our thanks as well. And
Thank you, Alex.
we look forward to continuing this well into the future if you continue to have us.
Okay, super. Our pleasure always.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you and goodbye.